Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Discord we got Josh.
Hey.
I sit, once again, travelling in a hotel room in Melbourne as we record this a couple hours before heading to WWE's Super Show, but that is not the Australian show that we are here to talk about. There was another one last weekend, Crown Jewel in Perth. We've got a couple new Crown Jewel Champion v Champion champions. That was a mouthful. And a couple other matches. Let's talk about that one first. And let's instead look at John Cena, AJ Styles. I think that's the one that's got the least tie-ins to other stuff. These two went for almost half an hour. Multiple callbacks from John Cena. AJ Styles wearing his old gear. Was it a banger, as you had said prior?
Oh yeah, sure was. It's very much could be considered a match of the year candidate. And there were also callbacks by AJ Styles too. Not to people that he's faced in the past. Because he announced he's retiring next year. Probably not to the same fanfare John Cena did. But he did announce that he 2026 will be his final year.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what AJ Styles does get on his way out. As you said, probably not a full year of a retirement tour, but I do expect at least his last match to be something, and him to have a few more of these callback ones. And I think knowing that both of them are on their way out of the door added to this, in that it was, Cena's last match with Styles, Styles' last match with Cena, and one of the last for both of them. So it had a lot to live up to, and I think it delivered on all of those notes.
Yeah. It even started with the note at the very beginning. When Cena showed AJ Styles the ultimate respect with his introduction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was cool to see those intro moments, as you say, kicking it straight off the bat with the respect with the callback, making it so grand and everything.
Yeah, and the fact that they mentioned Total Nonstop Action, the name of TNA, Aces and Eights, the Bullet Club, which has nothing to do with either TNA or WWE. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful match. Everything that it was supposed to be. And was also practically, it was just a couple minutes shy of being the longest match of the night, and it was wonderful, just simply wonderful, and I'm glad to have seen it.
100%. I think it's like one of those cases where no matter what we do for John Cena's last few appearances, those couple of Raws, the Survivor Series, and the main event at the end, this is, we can go home happy. We got this match. It was a banger. It was as good as it could be, which was, pretty damn good, if you ask us.
From what I could tell, at least when I was looking through like the Saturday night main events and stuff, looking for the Punk World Title match, that before, obviously something we'll get to later happened.
Yeah.
I think there's a November Saturday night main event. And currently on it is advertised to have a Cena match on it.
Okay.
That kind of messes up your whole plan about his exit.
Yeah, it does. We'll have to see how all of his dates play out. Obviously, cards subject to change, and maybe things have looked different. Maybe skinned an extra date off it. We'll see. But yeah, we'll see how it all rolls out. And I think, yeah, personally, I'm happy with this match. This could be the end. If you'd said that John Cena retired tomorrow, I would be a happy man. And so I don't think, I'm not going to say it won't be. They will have to try really hard to ruin the retirement from here, from this high note. Switching over to the women's divisions, just because I want to leave the Reigns-Reed match and the Rollins-Road match, obviously, to talk about the knock-ons. Instead, let's look at the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. It was between the Raw Women's World Champion Stephanie Vaquer and SmackDown's WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton. It was shortest match of the night, but Stephanie did come out on top and get that lovely looking championship belt.
Yeah, savor this because it doesn't happen often, but you're right. she did have the new champion buff, and it was stronger than the let's give our champion of the whole year a major moment at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really know what is happening with Tiffany. Been in a bit of a float space. Obviously, having this short run feud with Stephanie. We saw on SmackDown they teamed up to defeat Julia and Kiana James. Whatever, let's not talk about that one. But I don't know. It feels like she's just kind of waiting for somebody to step up, and if somebody does step up with any amount of momentum or name recognition, probably going to bet on the other person. It just feels kind of like her reign is in a bit of a lull, and like we're just waiting for the person to come in and end it.
Yeah, she's definitely at the end of her reign. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of who, where, when that they pull the triggers on.
Mm-hmm.
On it.
And as we always say, we'll have to wait and see. Probably from SmackDown this week, we may see a new champion emerge, or we may see at least the beginnings of a storyline start to form there. Because I can't imagine from last week's that it will be Julia or Kiana James that will step up to Tiffany next. And obviously with Flair and Bliss in the tag team division, probably not them. So I don't know. We'll see who steps up to the mantle for Women's Championship on the SmackDown side. I'm gonna go into our entrance theme early because I think the conversation about these other two matches, as well as the knock-on from Raw, could take a little while. So I'm gonna go early. It's gonna be Seth Rollins' theme, which does kind of give away one of the matches that we're gonna talk about. But when we come back, we'll talk about that rest of Crown Jewel as well as the knock-on to Raw. And you're back to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. First off, the opening match, Bronson Reed, Roman Reigns, Australian street fight. It did not go the way we predicted. We chose not to bet against Roman Reigns, and hey, didn't work out this time.
Yeah, but there was a factor that we weren't counting on. And that was the spiraling out of control Jey Uso.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he came out to neutralize our good old buddy, Braun Breaker,
mm-hmm.
and with his brother, Jimmy. And unfortunately, he missed spearing Bronson Reed and speared Roman Reigns to a table, which allowed Bronson Reed to get the biggest win of his dang life.
Yeah. You can't, you're not wrong, you know? It was big. It was home country. It was hometown. I'm sure he enjoyed it. And there is not many people who get wins over Roman Reigns, clean or dirty or otherwise. And so, you know, take it, put it in the belt, and see what you can do from here.
Yeah, I think there's a huge future in Bronson Reed if they want to pursue it. Obviously, we know the star that's breaking out of the vision is going to be Braun Breaker.
Mm-hmm.
But Bronson Reed is definitely setting himself up to be a major player in a couple of years, should they want to pursue it.
Yeah, I think he will. I think as well, just because of what happened on. You know what? Let's talk about the other match. Let's talk about the other match so we can wrap everything up in a nice big package and finish off with Crown Jewel. It was the Men's Crown Jewel Championship on the line. Seth Rollins from Raw as their World Heavyweight Champion going up against the guy he could never beat, Cody Rhodes, SmackDown's undisputed WWE Champion. Almost 30 minutes, and Seth did it.
While wearing a ring gear that was basically a hodgepodge of the 3 ring gears that he wore in the 3 matches he lost.
Mm-hmm. I think it was cool to see Seth get the monkey off his back, and I think we'd already talked about going into it that this match was one of the Crown Jewel Championship matches with the most history and with the most story that they built very quickly, and I think it delivered on that front with Seth Rollins, you know, finally getting that win.
Yeah, it was important for the overall story for Seth Rollins to finally get one over on Cody.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be something that would spiral into a further story, but I guess we're putting that on ice.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Because as you say, I just want to mention John Cena, AJ Styles, match content, match of the year, Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, and the Vision stuff, sort of the storyline highlights is where we need to be going, and we're like, okay, full speed towards War Games. The rumored lineup floating around was, Punk Reigns, some of the Usos, maybe Jacob Fatu on one side. We got The Vision, Brock Lesnar, maybe even Austin Theory on the other side. And then everything goes out the window as Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker beat the HE double hockey sticks out of Seth Rollins and prematurely pull that trigger.
Yeah, they kind of, if you were watching closely, they did their little subtle hints that we love. We were for the whole bloodline and stuff. We were like, watch this going on in the background. Watch this going on with this person. If you were watching the opening promo, you were watching Bron Breakker when Seth Rollins mentioned that he didn't need the Vision to succeed. A switch. You could see visually in the expression of Bron Breakker a switch like flip in him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you really don't need us? Well, we'll see about that. And then we get to the promo at the end of the event. And they're celebrating and stuff. And then out of quote unquote nowhere, Bron Breakker breaks Rollins in half with the spear.
Yeah, I think having the power of hindsight, the injury and it sort of making sense, like, okay, if you were just watching the show, maybe you weren't paying super close attention to the opening segment, it felt, the show had that through storyline, little paint by numbers, like, okay, we got War Games, we got these three, you get Bronson Reed versus Jimmy Uso, Jay hanging around as well, and you're like, okay, there's a couple more for that side. Then you get on later in the night, you got a triple threat match for the number one contendership, and you're like, okay, Punk, Jay, LA Knight, yeah, okay, there's some for the other side, and you're like, okay, maybe I know where it's going. And then, as you say, Bron Breakker just snaps those thoughts in half and sends you back to the drawing board of not knowing where the story's gonna go. Happy to be on the train. I think we're off the rails at this point.
Yeah. That was the thing. I think once we found out that Seth Rollins is legitimately injured, not the injured he portrayed in the summer,
mm-hmm.
and that he's going to require shoulder surgery and is going to be out for months, it makes all the sense in the world why you would pull the trigger then. You're setting Bron Breakker up to be the man with this move. It's a matter, but the thing that I think puts the brakes on it just for a little bit is, for the most part, it's almost like they're copying to some degree the transition from bloodline, Roman bloodline to solo bloodline,
mm-hmm.
with the actions of Paul Heyman. I wonder if maybe, I don't know what the plan was, but because obviously they everything up to the end of Raw apparently was supposed to happen. It was the ending that they tacked on that wasn't planned because of the injury. So I don't know where they're going here. I wonder if maybe as a temporary stopgap measure to get to where Braun can eventually win the Rumble and I guess now challenge Punk for the world title instead of Rollins, as I've been calling for 6 months. Maybe have Brock Lesnar be the guy that Paul is advocating, and have him be the guy that Braun has to eventually betray or overturn on his way out the door.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I did feel like we were going down a very evolution path. You know, Batista wins the Rumble, turns on Triple H, picks him as the champion. We're going with it. Felt like that's what we're going to do here. As you say, Braun Breaker wins the Rumble, turns on Seth, picks him. That's your WrestleMania match, Seth versus Braun. And with us needing to pull this trigger, I think it's made me question the next 6 months until we get to WrestleMania. We don't know exactly how long Seth Rollins is going to be out. Couple months. Could still be good to go for Rumble. Will probably be good to go, barring complications, for Elimination Chamber, and then we've got WrestleMania. And as you said, CM Punk did win that number one contenders match and does have a shot against Seth Rollins. The marketing seems to be pretty heavily on CM Punk for Saturday night's main event that's coming up in November. And so that was probably the plan, was them to have their clash there. But if Seth's out, I don't know. Do you force Seth to vacate? Do you do something else? Or do you just sort of put it all on ice?
Well, if the injury's as serious as they say it is, and he's going to be out the time they say it is, he's going to be out, he'll have no choice but to vacate.
Mm-hmm.
Which then questions, who does Punk face for the vacant championship? Because they could just easily do like Knight and Jimmy, or Knight and Jay having a one-on-one match. They could even throw Braun Breaker in there now, since he was like posing with the world title, making it clear his intentions. And maybe have Punk versus Braun Breaker at that Saturday night main event for the world title.
Yeah, I could see it. It depends though, because if they are still wanting Braun challenging the title to be the big moment at WrestleMania, maybe they do want to hold off on it. But if we're gonna break glass, it is probably CM Punk with the championship. How do we get there? What happens in November at Saturday Night Main Event? I don't know the specifics. We'll have to wait and see how it all goes. But there is a possibility, as you said, of Brock Lesnar stepping into that role. We've seen him obviously established with Paul Heyman since the return, been floating around neither here nor there. The rumors were that he was going to appear in the War Games match on the side of Paul Heyman and the Vision. Maybe we just go ahead with that now. Is there a new fifth man that they're going to get? Are we going to drop that entirely and, plan B with the Bloodline 7.0 and the OGs going head to head? Don't quite know. It feels like a lot of the storyline for Raw as a whole hinged on Seth Rollins. There was, CM Punk going after Seth Rollins. There was these young guys waiting in the wings to eventually bite him. There was him finally overcoming Cody Rhodes. Roman Reigns wants a shot at him. And there was a bunch of guys who just want shots at the title, which he was holding. And so there was a lot orbiting Seth. And with this injury, and if he does vacate, and if he does take a significant amount of time off, then we do have to, fix all of that, because there was just a lot hinging on him. And, some pieces may go to Braun and some pieces may go to Punk, and it may all begin to take shape. But if this was an injury that happened at Crown Jewel, or a thing that they figured out, in the last week, they might not even know where they're headed right now. And they've got to re-figure out what the next 4 to 6 months, or, 2 to 3 months looks like. And so, hey, let's see how it all rolls out, eh?
Yeah.
And then I want to turn our attention to the women's tag team scene. Funnily enough, because Lyra Valkyria and Bayley teaming on up and picked up a win over Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez, because the Judgment Day has taken a bit of a backseat at the moment, still haven't imploded. And then that's 2 teams. We've also got the champs with Flair and Bliss. We've got Rhea and Io teaming up at the moment. We got the Kabuki Warriors. There's a lot of women's tag teams floating around right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the most interesting thing is just, what the hell are they doing with Bayley? I'm honestly, at this point, I have no clue. She snaps from one personality to another, like,
Do
I don't
they know
know.
what they're doing with her?
Confusing me is what they're doing.
Yeah, I know it's probably extra upsetting being one of your favorites as well, but I just don't know what they are doing here. They seem to also be, if you look down at what happened on NXT this week, Lyra making an appearance there, where Tatum Paxley ended up becoming the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. They're acknowledging those storylines down on NXT. It's all over the place. I just don't know what the future holds for Lyra. I don't know what the future holds for Bayley. I don't know. It felt like, maybe we were going to do something. I listed all of those tag teams off, and none of them are facing Flair and Bliss, or none of them are setting up a storyline with Flair and Bliss. Ripley and Sky are still facing the Kabuki Warriors on Raw. They've still got to finish off that story. Lyra and Bayley have their own thing going on. Perez and Rodriguez had a couple, and not, going after it either. I just don't know exactly what we're getting from that division. There's like a bunch of teams and a bunch of talent in that division. We're just not doing anything yet. If you ask me who's going to challenge for the title next, I'm going to just shrug at you.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I honestly think that there's going to be a War Games match, and then they'll probably defend against somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a long time without tag team title defense, but is it really that big of a deal not to defend those titles when you're developing all these teams to eventually try to challenge for them, which you have to do in the first place because you didn't do it good in the first place?
Yeah, I know it's ages away, but I would, like to see a bunch of these teams collide if it does end up being at a Elimination Chamber, but that is, 4 months down the line. But I do like there being teams in this division. Now let's get a storyline going for those titles. We do have a storyline going with the Sky Kabuki Ripley stuff, and we do have other storylines going with different pieces. Let's get Flair and Bliss doing something. Let's give them something to do.
Now, the thing I want to talk about, and this isn't often, but there is something I want to talk about. I want to talk about Dominic Mysterio versus Penta on Raw.
Yep.
Phenomenal match. And I think it's also going to show just how far Dominic has come since his debut with Seth Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
He is able to hold his own with somebody who is arguably one of the top 5 wrestlers in the world, at least, and he is doing so much, so wonderfully. Now he's doing it without help.
Mm-hmm.
Without the Judgment Day. I think this is just great development. The more he works with guys like Penta, Rusev, Dragon Lee, AJ Styles, the better he's going to be, and maybe the 2026 Money in the Bank winner.
Calling it now?
It's possible. I wouldn't be so shocked by it. I don't think I'd be disappointed with it either.
Yeah, I think Dominic has been, one of the MVPs of this year. And he's improved so much, as you say. He's been having bangers with everybody, bright things. And I think when you are that second generation still, multiple generation star, coming into it, there is obviously a lot of pressure. And if you think back to the original, white meat teaming with his dad, Dominic, we can't be any further. Not just in terms of characters, but in terms of development as a wrestler. I think he's really found himself and showing us everything he's got. And I had reservations at the start. I'll admit it. I got none now.
Yeah, and Rey Mysterio is so proud of Dominic and the stuff that he can do. Honestly, I would love to see, after he loses the Intercontinental title, because I don't want to see him lose it to Rey. I'd like to see maybe a rematch at WrestleMania, and maybe have Rey beat him there, and be like, that is okay, we're done with the Dirty Dom, we're done with the heel, let's embrace the fans, because the fans are clearly embracing him. I mean, when he cheated to win this match, and still got a huge pop from the crowd.
Yeah.
I think we're getting to the point where it's cool to like Dominic Mysterio, and at some point you need to start like taking advantage of it. And so I'd like to see maybe him having a match with Ray and Ray beating him, or maybe even having Ray versus Dominic with like Ray is retiring if he loses to Dom, and he loses to Dom, and so he takes off his mask and hands it to Dominic, and Dominic finally snaps in a good way, not the Braun Breaker way, and he realizes he doesn't have to be this bad guy, and he can carry on his father's legacy while still doing his own thing.
Yeah. Well, we will keep an eye on it, and we will talk more about Dominic next week, I'm sure, as well as a bunch of stuff from SmackDown that we missed. MFT back to being whole, Aleister Black finding a friend and his wife. There is a lot to talk about in wrestling this weekend. Unfortunately, that is all the time we've got. It's been great talking to you.
Hi, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRND up, or our YouTube page, our Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRND up, then our YouTube page, youtube.com/WrestlingRND up, and we will catch you next week.